Hello shepherds, welcome back. And if you're new here, hello. Some people see a can of sweetened condensed milk as a convenience product. Maybe. I see it as a choice between accepting what's offered or creating something a little better with my own hands, my own sheep, from something available just outside our doorstep. Sheep milk. This recipe is something I've developed after some trial and error. I like the sweetness level, but if it's too sweet or not sweet enough for you, it's easy enough to adjust. I just love the simplicity of this recipe, but also the forgiving nature and flexibility of it. Now, if you're like most people, you may wonder, what's the difference between sweetened condensed milk and evaporated milk? Sweetened condensed milk, sometimes called condensed milk, is a thick, sweet, creamy dairy product. It's made by removing a lot of the moisture or water from the milk and adding sugar and sometimes other ingredients back into the milk. So basically a reduction, just like when we make stock, syrups, or some savory glazes. So let's get into it. For our recipe, we need milk, really any milk will do, sugar, salt, and vanilla extract. We're starting with measuring around 2 cups or 420 grams of fresh sheep's milk and a cup or 185 grams of sugar, a pinch of salt, and vanilla, added to the amount of love you feel within. My love fills a teaspoon today. So bountiful. We need a heavy bottomed saucepan. This is to prevent hot spots in the bottom of our pan and milk scald. If you have a light pan, it's okay. It means working slower and lower and stirring more often. So let's start with a gentle heat. Reductions take some patience to make. So I like to pop on a show to watch and pour a cup of our favorite drink for the day. Today, it's homemade lemonade and yogurt mix. It's basic, but fun. I like to scrape the bottom of the pan while stirring, not only to check by feeling how the sugar dissolving is progressing, but to prevent milk settling in spots. If you end up developing a milk skin, even with all that stirring, that's okay, we can strain it out. I'm leaving mine in though. When stirring, it helps to move your stirring spoon around often, up and down. We want to maintain an even heat distribution throughout that milk. If you're wanting to practice slow living, I find this is a good time to focus in on our motions. Observe the motion of the spoon, the rhythmic sound of the spoon against the pan. It helps to rotate through each of our senses, the feel of the spoon, the coldness or warmth. Did you notice how the sugar dissolved and doesn't feel heavy on the tip of the spoon in the milk? Or how does the steam smell? Can you pick out the faint hint of vanilla? Over time, you may even smell the sweetness of the sugar beginning to caramelize. I'm aiming for a low simmer at first and then turn it down as soon as it starts to bubble. Notice how the steam swirls in the light. Isn't that beautiful? I'm not using a thermometer. I'm mainly observing the surface of the milk. I want a thick cloud of steam. If I turn the heat up too high, I risk scalding the milk or worse, burning it. I remember once when my dad tried to cook a pancake with my pans. They're non-teflon. He went through and burnt every pancake on every pan. And he got super mad and then kind of made a huge mess that I had to clean up. But it was funny because he was fuming at the pans being useless and garbage quality. But it was really about slowing down. When cooking with cast iron and the like, it's about slowing down and taking your time to reach the heat. I realized he was used to cranking up the heat on high to cook, so it's really important to me at least, to be okay working slow and low when making our sweetened condensed milk. It's easier to adjust the temps in tiny bits than the big swings. Oh, and on that note, if you're using a Teflon pan, it's important to use a wooden spoon to stir rather than metal like I'm using. Continuing on, when reducing our milk, it's really a personal thing. The longer you reduce our milk, the thicker and creamier it gets. One thing to keep in mind is that as it cools, it will thicken up some more. I'm not sure if the camera is picking this up very well, but the milk is starting to really reduce down now and beginning to develop that nice golden color. This is due to the caramelization of the sugars. And guys, it smells so good. When I smell this, instantly I'm thinking of pumpkin pie, key lime pie, coffee creamer, and teas. It's funny how something so small can make up so much of so many dishes. I've cut a lot of time out, but around half an hour has passed. I like how it's looking now, and it has a beautiful color. It can reduce more, but I want to turn this into some creamer that I just ran out of, so let's follow this up for later. One of the fun things about making all these fun and delicious products is that it's not only the cost savings or that step closer to self-sufficiency, but also the connection with land and nature, packing all that sunshine, grass, and trees into this little jar, and maybe just a little reminder to slow down and notice the little things that form a part of each action of our lives. What do you think?
It's the mount.
Now for the taste test. I'm gonna sample from the pan. I hope you don't mind. Those little bits on the sides of the pan are the milk skin bits. I know milk skin bothers some people, mostly family members. It's understandable, but to me, this tastes so good. I can taste the light caramelization and hints of vanilla. I think it'd be fun to go extra fancy with some other extracts or herbs. It's sweet, but in the most perfect way. If you've ever had a taste of something that just zings, well, this sings for me. And I hope it will sing for you too. How long does it last? In general, I store it in the fridge for about 2 weeks, if it lasts. Or freeze it in portions for longer storage. But this is good to go right away. I'm going to pop it in the fridge and save it for later. It'll thicken as it cools. And as I scrape this pan and sample the cooking, you can see how it leaves this spoon mark on the pan as it cooled. I think if I went any more reduced, I might start falling into the candy making range of cooking. Have you ever made milk candy before? This kind of reminds me of a liquid version of the Milky brand vanilla flavor. It's so good. So let me know if you ended up making it or take it up to the next level. If you made it this far, thank you so much. I appreciate you, and I hope you have a soft and woolly day. Until next time, ta-tas.